Okay, we are live. That took a few seconds to pop up, but yeah, we are live. Hello, right. So, if anyone who joins in, this is going to be quite interesting. Um, Couple of interesting things we have to talk about today. Very interesting things. Um, First of all, let me point my screen a bit further up so the top of my head isn't missing off the screen. Although I think it was actually alright. But anyway, I moved my laptop recently and I shouldn't have done that. Are we good? Are we actually going properly? I don't know. Anyway, well, let's start, shall we? First topic on my list, if you notice from the video description, is vegan dogs. Never knew that was a thing. Apparently, it is possible, which I never knew. Now, dogs, of course, like humans, are naturally carnivorous, as in they need to eat meat, but can eat a meat-free diet if they want to. Now, of course, that's the interesting point to come back to in a moment. Right? Much as humans are naturally carnivorous, but we can choose a vegetarian or vegan only diet if we want to. Obviously, we have the free choice to do that. The problem I have with veganism in humanity, for start, is human beings are naturally carnivores. Hello, Jesse. You watch it. Human beings are naturally carnivores. We are by choice omnivorous. Now, the reason I say human beings are naturally carnivores is because nearly all of the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that we get, that we need, that our body needs, comes from meat. That's what makes something a carnivore. A lion is a carnivore. They don't walk around eating fucking cabbages and tomatoes, do they? They eat like whatever animals they can get their paws on. Right? And of course, human beings are the same. Now, a lot of people like to say, especially vegans, like to say human beings are vegetarians. Human beings were always vegetarians, and we evolved from vegetarians, and we shouldn't be eating meat at all. Well, I've been doing a little bit of research on this, and I have some information that pokes a bit of a hole in that theory. Because these people, especially vegans, like to claim that humans were vegans and then we started eating meat somewhat later in the course of human history. Here's the issue with that. Wonderful piece of scientific information that I managed to copy off the internet. Um, in the in the earliest era of the Stone Age, the Paleolithic diet consisted of raw meat and fish. Before humans learned how to create fire and use it to cook food, the animals were eaten raw. Raw meat was consumed for approximately the first 1 million years of human existence. Humans, therefore, are natural carnivores, but we choose an omnivorous diet. Veganism has been associated with adverse health outcomes, mainly nervous, skeletal, and immune system impairments, hematological disorders, that's blood for anyone who doesn't know, as well as mental health problems due to the potential for micro and macronutrient deficits. That possibly explains why the person on the internet who calls herself the vegan teacher is an absolute fucking nutcase. Vegans consume fewer essential amino acids than non-vegans. Plant proteins are less digestible than animal proteins, and food processing methods like heating may further reduce digestibility. According to the WHO, animal proteins are considered complete proteins and have a higher biological value, protein efficiency ratio, net protein utilization, and ultimately have a higher protein digestibility corrected amino acid score compared to plant proteins. Effects on pregnancy, fetal outcomes, and lactation. Optimal fetal growth requires balanced maternal nutrition during pregnancy. Mothers on a rigorous vegan diet are at risk of vitamin insufficiency, which can lead to poor fetal outcomes. Meaning, if you're eating a vegan diet while you're pregnant, your baby could die. Studies have also shown an association between low B12, low birth weight, and preterm delivery. So if you're eating a vegan diet while pregnant, not only might your baby die, but if it doesn't die, it might be born prematurely and be born underweight. Our bodies can manufacture a lot of different biomolecules, but not all of them. The ones we can't produce are called essential nutrients, which means we must obtain them through diet or we die. Fatty acids like omega-3 and omega-6 are essential. Many amino acids, proteins, are essential. And there are a handful of essential vitamins and minerals like vitamins A, B, C, E, and K, potassium and sodium, along with several others, in meat. Not surprisingly, all essential nutrients can be found in animal source foods, but not all essential nutrients can be found in plants. That means if you're eating a strict vegan diet or even a strict vegetarian diet, you need to take a lot of vitamin and mineral supplements. Otherwise, you're fucked, right? Because you're going to have all kinds of problems. Now, the same is true, of course, for dogs. Now, dogs are as carnivorous as human beings are, and they really do rely on a lot of meat products for their foods. People who want to force their dogs to have a vegan diet, emphasis on the word force there, because if you want to be a vegan, that's your choice. But if you force that on other people, that is not their choice. And if you force that on an animal, that is certainly not their choice, and it is technically animal abuse. Because the dog, the cat, whatever, has no choice in the matter. You are forcing it upon them. And here's the interesting thing about that. There's a person, I think I previously mentioned it already in this video, called the vegan teacher. The vegan teacher is a person who likes to force every person using YouTube videos and stupid songs to be vegan. Now, the problem with vegetarians and vegans, apart from the fact that they're idiots because they don't eat meat like you're supposed to, right, is that they are much like certain religious groups, in that rather than just living their life their way and letting you live your life your way, they try to force their life choices on other people. Oh, I'm vegan, so you have to be vegan. And I look down my nose at you if you're not vegan because I think I'm better than you because I don't eat meat like we're supposed to, right? That doesn't make you better than me. And claiming that you're better than me and acting like a complete cunt is not going to make me think, yeah, I need to be a vegan. Because A, I've got more fucking brain cells than you have. 2, you couldn't win an IQ battle with a glass of water. And 3, human beings need meat to survive unless you need to take vitamin supplements. And it's the same with other animals on the planet. I mean, you try forcing a lion to be vegan. And then wait for the day when it rips your fucking head off, you stupid bitch. And by forcing your dog to be vegan and not providing it with the correct mineral supplements to go along with that, you are an animal abuser, which is what you claim people eating meat is. Oh, it's the murder and rape or whatever of animals. It's not murder, it's not rape. Okay? Murder and rape are perpetrated by humans on humans. Murder is defined as when one human being kills another human being. Therefore, me killing a chicken, plucking it, cooking it, stuffing it, and eating it is not murder. Me killing you, vegan teacher, is murder. Me killing a chicken is not. That's the difference. And they're not raped either. A lot of animals, especially ones like cows and things, have to be artificially inseminated because sometimes the ball just isn't up to it. I mean, we all have our off days, I suppose, even human beings. But yeah, it's not all the crap that you say. Uh, Now, if you want to be a vegan, if anyone out there wants to be a vegan or a vegetarian, that's perfectly fine. You can make that choice. But do not think you are morally superior in any way to other people or ethically superior in any way to other people. And do not try to force your lifestyle on them. Right? If I want to be a lazy bastard who sleeps 12 hours a day, every day, my entire life, right? And smoke and drink and all the other stuff that I do, right? If I want to do all that stuff, that's fine. I can make that choice. But I can't force other people to do that. I'm not here saying, oh, yeah, because I smoke, everybody should smoke, or because I drink, everybody should drink, or because I sleep 12 hours a day, everyone should sleep 12 hours a day. No, because it's my personal lifestyle choice. I don't sleep 12-hour days, by the way. Not every day, anyway. Some days, depends how tired I am. But I smoke and I drink. Am I going around forcing everyone else to smoke and drink? No. So why do you think that just because you don't eat bacon and you want to live on fucking cabbage and lettuce and tomatoes? Yes, I know tomatoes are a fruit, but vegan diet would include fruit and vegetables, right? Just because you choose to do that doesn't mean you can force other people to do. Right? Okay. So mind your own fucking business, live your own life, and let other people live theirs. And don't be fucking looking down your nose at people because you chose not to eat meat, which means you're the moron in the situation because humans need meat, much like dogs do. And if you force your dog to be vegan, you better be giving them the correct mineral fucking supplements that they need. Because if you're not, you're an animal abuser, not me eating my fucking chicken. So, moving on. Ash will love my laptop. Whoever he is. Her, he, her, I don't know. Sorry, I might have misgendered Ash. Now that sounds stupid, but you never know these days. Right. Yeah, what was the next thing on my list? Oh, yeah, war. Yeah. We might be going to war. World war. Oh, yes, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? Yeah. We might be going to war. Um, and we might be going to war with someone you really don't want to be going to war with. You see, we might be going to war with Russia. Yeah, that's not going to be good. It didn't work out very well for Hitler now, did it? For my American viewers, a lot of your fellow countrymen and women like to say, "Oh, we won the war for you." Speaking of World War II, actually, you didn't. Apart from the fact that you didn't really get involved in the European side of the war. I mean, you did a little bit, but you didn't do that much. You were more concentrating on fighting Japan, but you didn't win the war for us. Do you know who actually won the war for us? As weird as it sounds, Hitler. Hitler won the war for us because Hitler, in his infinite wisdom, otherwise known as his utter stupidity, decided to attack Russia. And he lost. It was the Russians, of course, that were the first people to march into Berlin. Because we had to fight the Cold War afterwards. That was interesting. And it seems like we might be going to war with Russia pretty soon. Now, the interesting thing about that is who's going to be involved. I'm guessing it might be NATO countries versus Russia. So we're talking England, well, the UK, right? America, France, Germany, Canada, most of Europe, certain parts of the Middle East and the Far East as well, maybe. Even Japan might come in on our side. I mean, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because they are meant to be our allies now. They might come in on our side. What we've got to worry about, though, is if we put all our focus on fighting Russia, Is North Korea going to decide to be a problem? And what are China going to do? That's the question. But yeah, we might end up going to war with Russia. I don't think that would be a good idea. Of course, when Hitler fought Russia, he lost very badly. His forces were pushed back all the way from Stalingrad back into Berlin. It didn't really work out for him. But that was just Germany fighting Russia. This time it might be Germany, France, Italy, Spain, England, America, quite a few other countries. It might be a whole fucking bunch of us. And I think in that instance Russia would lose. The problem with that is Putin has issued well, let's call it a warning, even though I'd consider it a bit more of a threat. He said essentially that if NATO countries get more physically involved in the Russia-Ukraine situation and coming on the Ukrainian side and put boots on the ground, as they say, commit soldiers to the cause, it might launch the nukes. Now, hopefully, this is just an idle threat, because hopefully Putin is intelligent enough to know that a nuclear war would destroy the world. Because, as the old story, they launch our nukes, they launch their nukes, rather, we launch our nukes, everyone else launches their nukes, and the whole planet is fucking wiped out. Now, of course, that would be slightly advantageous for the overpopulation and global warming situation, but I think all those nuclear weapons going off would be much worse than anything we could currently do with how we're going on with destroying the world anyway. I say we're destroying the world, we're not really doing anything to the world, because the world has existed for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. The dinosaurs were around over 65 million years ago, right? The planet's been around a lot longer than that, It is only human arrogance for us to think that we have any real effect on the ecosystem of our planet, unless we're overbalancing or underbalancing, whatever you want to call it, the ecosystem of like animals and stuff. Then we can cause some serious problems. We can cause a full ecosystem breakdown. That's not something we really want to do. However, the idea that, like, I don't know, the amount of cars we drive and stuff like that is fucking the planet up is absolutely ridiculous. We have no real effect on it at all. Global warming is going to happen anyway, whether we do anything about it or not. We can't stop it by any fucking means. We can't slow it down. We can speed it up, I suppose. But instead of trying to come up with ways to try and stop it or slow it down, we ought to be looking at ways to survive it. Now, with regards to surviving global warming, or indeed global freezing if it was going the other way, we have two options. There are two directions that humanity can go in order to avoid living on the planet's surface, because the planet's surface will be inhabitable, or uninhabitable. We have two options. We can go up, or we can go down. Right. So that means we can either build underground or underwater cities, especially underwater because the sea levels will rise, and we can live under the surface of the Earth until such time as it cools down enough for us to go back to the surface. Or we can go up and live in space. Or we can do both. I don't think we have the time, maybe, to do both. I think it's going to be a case of one or the other. And of course, then the question is who gets to go and who gets to stay, because the entire fucking world can't go. Right? But we're going to need a diverse and multicultural team because, global fucking community and shit. And it can't all just be like the rich cunts and the politicians, because they're going to need normal people, common people, like me, because they're going to need, I don't know, they're going to need engineers, mathematicians, they're going to need scientists, they're going to need people to do all the various different jobs. Because it's all about sending all the posh rich people and the politicians onto a big space station in space, but who's going to do the work? They're going to need us, aren't they? Even if we're just given them menial tasks, like wiping the sick off the floor in a space bar or something like that, cleaning people's quarters. Clean your own fucking quarters, I suppose, like you clean your own house. But they're going to need people to work on, like keeping the engine working that keeps it floating around in space, keeping the food and water going, and all the other stuff, like keeping the atmosphere being recycled or whatever. We're going to need all this stuff. So it can't just all be rich people and politicians, because they ain't going to do any of that fucking work, are they? They're going to need to take normal people, working class people, shit like that. Obviously, population control would be an issue as well. Guess it's 2 children per family, so that the population stays the same from generation to generation. If there's 200 adults and they have 200 children, and then they have 200 children, and they have 200 children, the population stays relatively the same. It's not getting bigger or smaller. Whereas if you start off with like 200 people and they have 400 children, well, obviously that's going to overpopulate the space station eventually. Whereas if you do it the other way, there's not going to be enough people, are they? So, interpersonal relationships will have to be worked on as well. We'd also need to preserve as much of the culture as possible. Well, I think there's there's 2 groups of people probably that may not be allowed to go along with these 2 ideas. And I hate to say it, but they are the LGBTQIA plus non-binaries. I'm a sheep, I'm a dog, I'm a lion, I'm a tiger, I'm a bear, oh my people, and Muslims. Because neither one of them would happily coexist with all the others. Oh, and I think we could throw the Just Stop Oil people in there as well. In fact, maybe all the rest of us can go up into space, and we can leave them to go underground. Be interesting group of people living underground then, wouldn't it? Muslims, LGBTQIA plus non-binary people, and Just Stop Oil protesters. That would be weird. Imagine that society. Do you think they would coexist? Because I don't. Because the QIA plus people would want to peacefully coexist with all the others, and they'd see the Just Stop Oil people as allies, and they'd see the Muslims as allies because, they're idiots. And the Muslims were like, well, we don't like your kind, so you can all die. It'd be great. Yeah. The rest of it could just fuck off into space, I suppose. Of course, that brings me nicely onto the state of the world. And I tell you what, the world is in a complete state, isn't it? Especially what they call the Western world. God, we're fucked, aren't we? You got Joe Biden in charge of America at the moment, and they really need Trump back. In fact, what you really need over there, America, is you get like the person who's going to be president, and like their running mate or whatever you call it. But last time when it was Trump, it was Trump and Pence, I think. Right? It should be Trump DeSantis. And I think between the two of them, Trump and DeSantis could sort America out. Over here in England, there's a different story because our Conservative government is a bag of shit. Labour are worse. Lib Dems can get fucked completely. We need something like Reform or UKIP over here. In fact, apparently Nigel Farage is going to run for Prime Minister. I think that would be a good idea. I think if I was in charge of this country for one term of being Prime Minister, I think I could sort this country out. I'd sort out the border issue. I'd stop the boats. That's the main point at the moment over here. I'd deport anyone who supports terrorists and terrorism. Deport anyone who's anti-Semitic. Deport anyone who doesn't actually want to integrate into our society and live the way we do and follow our laws. So that's probably all the Muslims out for a start. I mean, some of them are all right. Not every Muslim in this country is, as bad as the rest. Right? Some of them are actually quite nice. I've met some very nice Muslim people who integrate as much as they can. They still go to their mosques and stuff like that, but they integrate as much as they can. Right? They at least try to live the way we live here in this country. But there are a lot more that just won't. They want to live their way and they want to bring their way over here. And now they're trying to force us to adopt their way. And it's not just us. They're here in England, and across the wider UK. It's other Western countries as well. These people are like an insidious invader. Like, they've been coming into our countries for years, and we've just let them come, and now they're trying to take over. Just a couple of months ago here in England, might be longer than a couple of months ago, a political party idea was broached. The Islamic political party in England. They wanted an Islamic political party. The idea basically being that if they became the rulers of the country, they got prime minister and so on and so forth, right? The idea would be to change England to, the United Islamic Kingdom rather than just United Kingdom. And what I do like about this, not that, I don't like that, right? But the whole Muslim problem, and indeed the whole LGBTQIA plus non-binary problem, right, has actually made the United Kingdom more united than we've ever been. Apart from the fringe elements that want these weird changes, and all that sort of stuff, and want to trans kids and things like that, and seem to think that Muslims will be okay with gay people supporting them. They found out that's wrong. You see a pride flag at a pro-Palestinian march, mate. It doesn't fucking last very long. Pro-Palestinian march, just fucking. The people of this LGBTQIA, whatever they want to fucking call it these days, fucking community, right? They seem to have this idea of underdogs and oppressed people all should stand together against their oppressors, right? Well, first of all, let me tell you this: the LGBTQIA whatever Wi-Fi password brigade community, right, are not oppressed in any way, right? They're always making their TikTok videos and that, talking about how um, laws that are being passed are anti-trans and it's a genocide and it's killing people. No, it isn't. If you look at the facts of the matter, and I mean the actual facts, not the ones you make up for your talking points, and not the ones that the opposition brings up as the opposing facts. Right? Look at the actual facts, right? There's no such thing as a trans kid, for a start, right? That's something that's like relatively new. Right? The idea of a person under the age of 16 thinking they were a boy when they're actually a girl um, has not really happened that much throughout the course of human history. It's only been a really recent thing, and that's because it's being pushed on kids in schools, because that's part of the liberal mentality. Let's push these ideas on kids, especially with some of the weird books they're putting in schools in America, which shows how a male can give another male a blowjob, and that's in primary schools. Don't think primary school kids need to know how to give blowjobs. I don't think primary school girls need to know how to give blowjobs. In my primary school, boys. And they certainly don't need to be given all this bullshit information about how girls can be boys and boys can be girls and crap like Dylan Mulvaney and Jeffrey fucking Marsh, who was a complete bloody fucking weirdo he is. I want to talk to the kids. Yeah, sure you do, you fucking pervert. If it wasn't for people out here on YouTube, I have to mention them. If it wasn't for people out here on YouTube like Book Angel, Blair White, and the Marcus, whose YouTube name is actually the offensive tranny. That's quite funny. If it weren't for people like that, again, all our kids today would be fucking cutting bits of their bodies off and sterilizing themselves and shit like that, and the human race would die out in one generation. Apart from people like Muslims, basically, who would then take over the entire world. Is that really the future you want for us? I mean, it says a lot when the LGB and property, we'll call it that, part of the community wants to break away from the rest because they think they're a bunch of fucking weirdos. And then they get called transphobic. I mean, Blair White has been called transphobic. Book Angel has been called transphobic. Marcus has been called transphobic. They are trans people. They're proper trans people. They're transsexuals. What the T actually stands for. Transsexuals. Not transgender, transsexuals. Oh, but gender's a social construct. No, it's not. No. Gender roles are a social construct. How a woman is meant to behave, how a man is meant to behave. Those are social constructs. What a man actually is and what a woman actually is not a social construct. It is a biological fact. I am a man. I know I'm a man because I have XY chromosomes and I've got a cock. I'm a man. If you've got XX chromosomes and you've got tits and a pussy, you are a woman. Right? Now, you can have gender dysphoria, which really should be called sex dysphoria, but that sounds more like you're scared of having sex more than anything else. But you can have gender dysphoria. It's a real thing. And that's what makes a transsexual a transsexual. Transgenders, on the other hand, most of them, claim that you don't need gender dysphoria to think that you're a man when you're actually a woman. I'm quite sure you do. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like Blair White and Book Angel and Marcus and a few other people who would probably confirm to me whether that's true or not. I think you actually do need gender dysphoria to actually believe you're a man trapped in a woman's body or the opposite way around, right? Because one of the funniest things is, right, You get these lefty woke morons who are always going around saying, "Oh, trans women are women, trans women are women." They're always saying it, right? Trans women are women. But then you ask them whether they'd have sex with one, and they say no. And you say, "Why not?" And they say, "Well, because they're not women." Well, hang on a minute. You're the one rocking around saying trans women are women, and then when faced with the choice, would you have sex with one then? No, because they're not women. Don't you see the contradiction there? And they're always claiming that they're like, oh, all these studies have been done that shows that they're chopping off the breasts of 14-year-old girls because they think they're boys is very beneficial to their life and lowers the risk of suicide. Yeah, where is that study? I'd like to see that study because it doesn't exist. Because things like this have never happened before. Maybe to be the odd case here or there, right? But not enough to be an actual study to say whether or not it's beneficial. And there are plenty of studies out there looking at the current situation to actually show that when a man who thinks he's a woman becomes a woman, or the opposite way around, that doesn't necessarily improve their life. It does in some cases, but it doesn't in others. And for a little while now, I've been predicting that in about 10, 15 years, there's going to be a massive, and I mean massive, throng, if that's the right word, of detransitioners and people, especially in America, like suing doctors and medical establishments for making them trans when they really weren't trans. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'm not the only person that says it. But this new trans thing, if you look at the core of it, it seems to be the new gay conversion therapy. I mean, you think about it, right? You've got a kid, say you've got a little boy, right, who may just possibly end up growing up gay if he's allowed to go through his life normally. You know, he's a bit more effeminate than other boys, he likes girly things, you know, whatever your stereotypical signs are of being gay, right? So you decide, my kid is trans, he should have been a girl. So you make your boy a girl. But it's not his choice, it's your choice. A kid can't make that choice. A kid cannot consent. A kid cannot consent to anything because it's a kid. Legally speaking, a child cannot consent. In the same way that a child cannot consent to sex, a child cannot consent to having their tits chopped off because they think they might be a boy because you put that idea in their head, or the teacher at schools put that idea in their head because that's just as bad. So you got your boy who quite obviously is pretty much going to go gay, right? But you make him a girl. She then is still going to like guys. Well, that makes her straight, doesn't it? Because now she is a girl who likes guys. Gay conversion therapy. And of course, it's creating more and more problems. What these fucking LGBTQIA plus Wi-Fi password brigade people don't realize is that they're already creating. I was going to say they're going to create, but they're already creating serious issues within society that are a bit frowned upon. I think that's an understatement because they're essentially allowing paedophilia. Now, before anyone gets on the high horse and says, "Oh no, trans people aren't promoting paedophilia," Okay, fair enough. Trans people aren't promoting pedophilia, not in the way you think. They're not going around saying, "Oh yeah, pedos are people too." Right? Okay, right, and we should respect them. Right? But what they're doing is they're creating an exploitative system that can be exploited and will be exploited by those who want to do things to children. Right? Because apart from the fact that the next thing they're going to have to work on is legalizing pedophilia anyway, because it's going to come down to a choice of, well, hang on a minute, being straight or gay is something you're born with, so is being a paedophile. You know, you don't just wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to fancy kids. No, you don't do it, right? Just like you don't wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm going to be gay. Oh, hello everybody, I'm gay now. Yeah, I don't know why everyone does that voice when they're talking about gay people. Like, yeah, gay people, isn't it? Yeah, they all talk like that. No, they don't. Because that would make Alan Carr the biggest gay on the planet at the moment. Because he got a voice like that. Hello, I'm Alan Carr. Alan Carr. So if you don't believe me, go and check out Alan Carr. He sounds just like that. Anyway, right? So it'll come down to the choice. Do we make paedophilia legal or do we make being gay illegal again? And of course, no one's going to go with the idea of making gay illegal again because that would set us back well over 50 years. It was back in the 1950s, right? It wasn't illegal to be gay. It was just illegal to perform gay acts, even in the privacy of your own home, right? So if you were gay, that's perfectly fine. But the minute you poke someone in the shitter, you're in trouble. Basically, if it was proved that you had, guessing it had to be proved, like any other crime, right? So if we go back to making it illegal to basically do gay things, or we legalize paedophilia. That's the choice it'll come down to. But we don't even need that these days because an adult can now identify as a child, and a child can now identify as an adult. Thanks, LGBTQIA plus community. So now a 40-year-old guy who really wants to fuck 14-year-old girls can identify as a 14-year-old boy and fuck as many 14-year-old girls as he can. And we have to accept the fact that he is not 40 anymore, he is 14. I wonder if that means he has to go back to school. I'm not sure. And of course, the other way as well, like you can get your 13, 14-year-old girl and they can identify as an adult. So you get a 13, 14-year-old boy or 13, 14-year-old girl and they identify as someone who's, I don't know, 25. Can they now buy cigarettes, buy alcohol, drive, not go to school, and have sex with 20-odd-year-old people? That's the situation you're creating. And you don't realize that. Maybe you do realize that. Maybe that's what you want. But that's the situation you're creating. And that is why a lot of people, well, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people have a problem with your community. And that is partially why the LGB and certain members of the proper T want to move away from the rest of you because you're a bunch of fucking crazy nutcases who basically want to allow adults to have sex with children. Because I mean, you're getting close to that as it is with like your drag shows for kids, people being naked in front of kids, like at pride parades, and showing off their fetishes and stuff like that in front of kids, right? And doing all this stuff for kids to see, and basically making kids see it. You're putting it in schools now in books. You've got these fucking books all about gay sex um, and LGBTQ stuff and all that stuff being put into primary schools. I wouldn't even want that in a secondary school, 11 to 16-year-olds in this country. Certainly not in like 6 to 10-year-olds, or even younger, in fact. It's just wrong. But you're pushing this shit and you're pushing this shit, and that's where it's going to lead to. You're going to lead to adults and kids having sex together, which is a violation. Long choice of words, but a violation of the most fundamental laws of practically every country around the world. And of course, this reminds me of an interesting argument I was having with someone many years ago. There was a country in Africa, uh, I don't know whether it still does, but it allowed people to get married and have sex at the age of 12, right? So, say a 20-odd-year-old guy for some reason wants to marry this 12-year-old girl, as long as she says yes, they can get married, they can have sex, they can have children, right? And the person I was talking to that said that's horrible. Right? And I was trying to explain to her that that's horrible to us because obviously here in this country, in England, your legal age of consent for that sort of thing is 16. Not 18, like most English people believe now, because we get too much American programming over here, but 16, right? So we can have sex and get married and have children if it comes to it at 16. Right? In America, that's 18, right? As you said, that because they can do this at 12, right, that's bad, right? And I was saying to her that that's bad to us, but to them it might be perfectly fine. And her stance on that, all she took from what I was saying was, "Oh, well, you think it's good to check 12-year-old then?" I was like, "Well, no. I'm just saying that because we don't do it in this country, we shouldn't be going to tell other countries that they shouldn't do it. It's their business, not ours. We have no right to interfere in their laws, right? Just as they have no right to interfere in ours, right?" And she just couldn't get this, right? So I said, "Well, put it this way, right? In this country, in England, we can legally have sex. We can legally consent to sex at the age of 16, right? In America, that's 18, right? I said, so say an American comes over here to England and tries to tell us that because they don't allow sex until they're 18, we have to do the same. Because to them, we're shagging children. Right? I said, what are you going to say to that person? And she said something along the lines of, well, I'd tell them, fuck off. I said, exactly. I said, so what gives you the right, or any of the rest of us the right, to go over to this African country and tell them they can't do that with 12-year-olds? Just because we don't do it doesn't mean they can't. And then I think maybe she finally got it, but I don't think she did. But that's where this whole LGBTQIA plus agenda seems to be heading. I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this. We're already seeing programs on telly and on the internet and stuff like that of like 50-odd-year-old blokes who are identifying as 5-year-old girls. Why is a 50-year-old bloke identifying as a 5-year-old girl? What possible reasoning can he have for doing that? There's only one, and it isn't good. Unless he's just a bit fucking strange, or I don't know, wants to relive his childhood because he had a bad childhood. Right then, fair enough. But you could just do fun things as an adult. You don't have to identify as a 5-year-old girl, do you? Obviously, the only reason to identify as a child is to have access to other children. But why? That's the weird question. And that's the question that these people need to ask themselves. And we as a society need to ask. And where does all this shit end? That's the real question. That's the big question. The other big question, especially with regards to England and the greater UK, which to my American viewers will confuse the hell out of them because they think that's both the same thing, and Great Britain, is who's going to take over our country first? Is it going to be the woke lefty mob, or is it going to be the Muslims? And here's the weird thing. If the woke lefty mob takes over first, the Muslims will take over afterwards. Because the woke lefty mob won't be able to stop the Muslims. It takes the rest of us to stop the Muslims. And I suppose my final thought on the matter today, ladies and gentlemen, is that Western countries, what we call Western countries, are being invaded by several different groups of people. And we need to fight back. We need to stop them. We need to get rid of them. I'm not saying we have to kill them. We have to get rid of them. Get them out of the country. And we need to make, as Donald Trump once said, we need to make our countries great again. In America, you had MAGA. I suppose over here we would have MEGA. Make England great again. Make UK great again. Mugger. Mukka. There's like a YouTube trend. Oh, that's mukbang, isn't it? When you get a lot of food. We need to sort this problem out. We, the people, need to sort the problem out. Because the governments ain't sorting it out. Because they're all becoming fucking woke leftists themselves, even the ones that claim to be conservatives. You're right over in America if you elect Donald Trump. He'll sort America out. He'll make America great again. Over here, though, in the UK, I think we're a bit fucked. Because none of our, government parties are any good. Except maybe UKIP or Reform. So, if you're going to vote in the next UK election, vote UKIP or Reform. Because if you don't, our country is fucked. And we might as well leave. Which is interesting because over the past 5-6 years, I've been thinking about leaving this country more and more. And I wonder why. Actually, I don't wonder why. I know why. And probably you know why. And probably you're thinking the same thing. And if our country continues to go down the shitter, the way it seems to be, because no one seems to be able to do anything about it, I might not be living here anymore. And anyone else with half a brain, at least half a brain, should probably be thinking the same thing. Because if we can't take our country back, it is no longer our country. And we might as well not be here. I'll leave you with that as my final thought. Well, thank you all for joining me and watching the live stream. Thank you to anyone watching this, when it becomes a video uploaded. Obviously, leave any comments you might like. And respect each other's opinions, even if you don't agree with them. And there we go. So, yeah. I'm just waiting for this thing to actually fucking end. Oh, now the thing's what? Your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. Are you sure? Yes.